As you walk through the park, you see many man-made features such as this feeding station. It was purposely put there to attract birds and so the public could see them. Another modification made to this park are the trails and signs that lead us to different destinations. As we walk through the trail, we see different animals and different plant life. One of my favorite features was the canopy bridge. It was put here to make bird watching easier and another example of a change that we made in the geography of the park. This picture of Edinburgh is actually taken from the top of the courthouse. It is from 1927 and it is when the railroad opened, and just by looking at it we can tell that there is a difference in the style of the buildings. There are more houses and more streets. Back in the 1900s, it was really difficult for farmers to get a water source to their crops. But when the railroads came to be, it was easier to transport materials so that they could make an irrigation system. After this irrigation system was implemented, then crops started flourishing everywhere in the Rio Grande Valley. And I think that is one of the main modifications that we made. I think that this is a great picture of human adaptation because it is showing women that are hanging out meat to dry. And before there was meat markets or grocery stores, people actually had to kill the animal and skin it and work for what they wanted to eat. And this changed the environment because many of these animals went extinct. Before I went to the Museum of South Texas History, I never knew that oil wells were drilled here in the Rio Grande Valley. And just the thought that there was oil discovered here is so interesting. This picture was taken in Mission, Texas, and it is an oil well, the very first one. And just the thought that there was one here in the Rio Grande Valley so close to me is so mind-blowing because you you see them in San Antonio or Corpus, and they're so big because they make such an impact in the geography because they bring in people and they create jobs. This is a map of the Edinburgh Scenic Wetlands. There's a butterfly garden, a community garden, the native plant nursery, and the viewing blind or the dock. There is two ponds. Those two ponds were man-made, and the water that comes from there is from the Alamo water supply that drains from the water plant and it drains onto there. The water that is behind me, that is one of the ponds, and it is not water that has been treated, so they don't let people fish because the fish are not edible. In about 2003, the city of Edinburgh was really interested in making a habitat for birds that migrate from the north to the south, and they wanted to make a kind of a pit stop for the birds so that they could stop there and rest. And it is also a home for the native birds and the native plants that we have here in the Rio Grande Valley. I chose this garden because it kind of reminded me of a smaller version of a park. It has the pond and it has the bench and it has wild plants around it. In my opinion, this pond could serve as an educational feature if we were showcasing it to students because we could teach them about the values of conservation of wildlife and plants and water and all the natural resources that we need to survive.